Probably some deadly fungus.
Oh God.
Deadly lung fungus.
Have you watched? What is it called? The Last of Us?
We're
Is that?
live, by the way. I haven't watched it yet. I've been meaning to.
I liked it.
Boom. And we're live. Yeah, you liked it. I mean, it's based on the award-winning video game.
Never played the game. Never even heard of the game, to be honest.
That's wild. It's like one of the most celebrated games of all time.
Well, when you don't play games.
My game of the year last year was Tetris for the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Oh my. I hate Tetris, man. I hate it.
Well, that and Super Mario Brothers, two classics. I have this old tube television from the 80s or like 90s or something with my NES up to it. That's all I need.
Yeah.
I'm easy to please.
Don't worry about the new stuff.
Nintendo 64.
The new Mario games actually are incredible. Like, I don't know if you played Mario Odyssey, but it's one of the best games that's ever been made. Do you have a Switch?
I do, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I played Mario Odyssey. I liked it. I mean, it's no Mario 64, but it was pretty good. 4 out of 5.
Slightly better graphics, though. How much is for sure? Oh, we got Reese Grundy here. He says, hey, we got Sammy. He's got a very jubilant happy Thursday. I read that, and I actually don't know if he is jubilant or not. We got Wes Beeson here with a very timid. Hi, y'all. We're getting ready to start here. Let's see. I think we got everything lined up. Oh, you want that tweet action, Lewis?
That sounds great.
This is the big one. I worked on this for 4 hours. Whoops. I think I just deleted it. Where'd it go? There it is. I started calling us CultCast Pod. That sounds trendier, doesn't it? CultCast Pod. It sounds like it's a TikTok podcast. It's coming in hot, Lewis. It's coming in hot. It says sending the tweet. Send it now.
Still waiting.
Well, you won't be waiting much longer. We got a lot of great stories here to talk about here, my friends. We're going to start in just a moment. Hop into the chat. Come say hi if you're here. And while you're here, why not give us a thumbs up? Every time you give us a thumbs up, it promotes our show in the algorithm, and it tells people that they should quit watching the talk show and go do something worthwhile, like the CultCast. Yeah.
How come the thumbnail says CultCast 603 and has last week's thing on it?
Oh, does it really?
Dang it!
Mine isn't showing the thumbnail. That's weird. Let me see if I can edit this tweet action. Yeah, see. Oh yeah, there we go. Hold on. Well, let me update that. I'm going live. I'm gonna add this.
So you're retweeting?
No, I just updated.
You're editing the tweet.
I just edited the tweet. The perks of being blue, Lewis. Old Blueus Wallace.
I never knew you'd be so happy to be a Smurf.
Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna fix it for you, but give it a shot. So,
now the thing is not unfurling or whatever they call it.
Give it a second for the unfurl. See, I can't control that part, Lewis. That's just
I'm sure you can't.
It's YouTube, and we don't have the thumbnail for 604 yet. So because we haven't made it. This is like a scene out of Spaceballs. Have you seen Spaceballs? Where they're not in years is what you're gonna say. There's a scene in Spaceballs where they're fast forwarding through the VHS and they accidentally stop at the exact moment that they're actually filming at that time, and they're confused because they can't go any further. He's like, "Well, we can't go further, sir. We haven't recorded it yet." And they're like going back and forth between the video and the actual record. Anyway, it's one of the greatest movies.
It's pretty
of all time.
meta.
Yeah, meta's
Let's
good
see
word.
here.
Yep.
CultCast's pod is like it's live.
Don't grimace at my title.
It's Apple Stories. Okay.
Yep. Thank you, Wes Beeson, for the great Search for Spock tea. Yeah, I agree. Thank you. Classic movie. I love Star Trek 2 through 6 are some of my favorite movies of all time. You would have to pay me large sums of money to watch one. That movie is basically one long B-roll shot of the Star Trek Enterprise.
Yeah, that's what makes it so great.
And you could tell, like, when they recorded that, it was groundbreaking, probably, because they weren't able to do stuff like that in previous movies. But that movie is not good. You like it?
Star Trek 5? That's what's surprising to me.
Star Trek 5 is The Final Frontier.
Yeah.
I actually did like Star Trek 5. It's not their strongest work, but I did like that. I like Cybok. What can I say? Are you impressed that I know his name?
What does God need a spaceship for?
You know what? You just elevated your status in my cool book. You just got 2 points for that. The fact that you even know what that movie is and you know a line from it. Oh my, that is rare. I think The Undiscovered Country is my favorite. Do you know what what movie that is?
Yeah, it's got the best soundtrack out of all of them.
Oh yeah, that's also true. Do you know who the composer is?
Cliff Idleman.
Very very nice. Wow, I'm impressed.
I'm
I'm
Do you
impressed.
IMDb open or what?
What?
Yeah, I just got it in my music library. I'm very familiar with it.
Oh yeah, those soundtracks are so good.
You have Star Trek soundtracks in your music library? Is that what you just confessed
My
to?
music library is Spotify. I have all soundtracks.
Uh-huh.
They're actually excellent. Do you know who directed the later Star Trek movies, Griffin?
You mean the Next Generation Star Trek movies?
No. I mean like Star Trek 3, 4, 5. I think 6.
I know Shatner did 5. I want to say Leonard Nimoy did Star Trek. One of them.
I think he did.
Probably
I think
3.
he did 3, 4, and 6. I have to look. You know,
I know he did 3 because that's the one that he wasn't in very much, but I didn't know he did 4 and 6.
Yeah, 3 is one of the strangest but best movies that exists today. I mean, who would have thought that a movie about 3 was let's see.
The
here.
Search for Spock. You're wearing it. Just look down.
I know,
You
but
can
I'm
look
not.
at it.
I can't look down. That's cheating.
Leonard Nimoy.
And then 4 is The Voyage Home. That's the one I was thinking of, the whale one.
Also Leonard Nimoy.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. A lot of people don't know
And
that.
5 is Shatner.
He was a. Yeah, that kind of explains a lot.
The Search for Spock is one of the first like all CGI scenes in an early movie.
Really? I didn't know
The
that.
Genesis sequence where they're animating like the planet as it turns green and all that. That was all CGI.
Well, I knew that was CGI, but I didn't realize it was like groundbreaking in any way. I mean, it's obviously CGI, right? Like it would have to be, but Jeff Druin wants to stop talking about Star Trek and start talking about Apple. I actually think that's a good idea.
Who can blame him?
I mean, the fact that we have 2 people here that know anything about Star Trek is actually kind of a miracle that never happens. Because you know what? Most people don't like Star Trek. So let's go ahead and
Let's move on.
Let's move on. Moving on. All right. Let's see here. I think we're ready to go. Yeah. Let me go ahead and pull my notes up. We'll get this thing rolling. Let me get Mrs. D on the line. Oh, Mrs. D. Mrs. D. Oh, yes. Are you a fan of Star Trek, Mrs. D? Oh, yes, especially The Voyage Home. Oh, really? Yes. I like when LK voyages to my home for late night intimacy. Oh, Chris. We did not need to hear that, Lewis. My goodness.
Even the most normal words sound kind of disgusting.
All right. Well, it's time to get going with the CultCast pod, Lewis. TikTok's hottest Apple podcast. CultCast pod. Mrs. D, if you don't mind, I'm going to get everything queued up, and we will get this thing rolling in 3, 2. Hello, and welcome to CultCast, the best 30-plus minute Apple conversation you're going to hear all week long. I'm your host, here from Elijah. Join me today. He loves darts of all kinds, but especially blow darts with poison tips, which he uses to put down the Cultamac riders escaping from the Cultamac World headquarters. He's the managing editor of Cultamac. Lewis Wallace is here.
It's not poison. It's a sedative.
Also with us, he's spending his free time crafting a false floor in his home. So when Lewis Wallace shows up in a fit of spelling error rage, he and his family can quickly disappear until the coast is clear. He is, I'm not going to say the newest, he is a writer at Cultamac. Griffin Jones is here. I don't
Good
want to
evening.
get chastised again.
No, he is the newest.
I know, but
And
I'm
you know
all
what?
mad about it.
You know what? I did a little research, and what I realized
Yeah.
is it's kind of half true and half not. Because
Okay.
yes, Rajesh started writing for Cultamac after you. However, he wrote for Cult of Android for a long time. And so I was slightly wrong. I hate to admit it. I was slightly wrong. Rajesh had not written for Cult of Mac.
So I am Cultomedia's newest writer.
Yeah, there you
but
go.
Not Cult of, but yeah, I'm introduced as Cult of Max.
But no one knows what Cultomedia is. It's and now that we've said it, we have to explain it.
Technically correct.
Splitting hairs.
The best kind of correct.
Cultomedia is the umbrella under which Leander Caney has built his tech blog empire. So everything rolls up under Cultomedia. So when I say that Leander's driving the Cultomac company Lamborghini Murcielago, that car actually belongs to Cultomedia. That's the difference. And I guess everyone's employed by Cultomedia. It's the Cultomedia empire.
Cultomedia owns the space station
And it
currently
happens to have
orbiting
a
Earth.
separate headquarters in a tax-free zone in Ireland, I am told. Maybe I wasn't supposed to say that, but...
I really wish he would set that up, actually, because I would like to visit it.
Yeah. Well, he's got tax-free, businesses set up all over the earth, Lewis. He just goes from one tax-free zone to another, living that lifestyle, that extravagant El Caney lifestyle. How is El Caney? Can you just give me like a 2-minute how is El Caney update? A, is he still alive? And B,
absolutely.
What's he up to?
Yeah, we had a long business call yesterday with someone, and you know what? At the end of it, he's like, "I'm gonna gouge out my eyes because after doing a video call, my eyes are burning, and I feel like stabbing them out."
Happening.
Something's wrong with his eyes. He needs like fresh eyeballs or something. I don't. It's very odd.
Okay, you know what? I'm sorry. We're going on a tangent. We'll get back to it. Give me
instant tangent.
60 seconds, okay? I saw somebody in a deals thread yesterday talk about something, and I kind of wonder if it's what's going on with LK. So this person was talking about buying one of the newer MacBook Pros, and he was saying that because of the way the newer Mac screens are built, he can't look at them. They make his eyeballs hurt, and they give him a headache. And I didn't think anything of it. I was like, oh, that's weird. And,
is he talking about ProMotion, the high refresh rate? Because I've heard
no. He was talking about some like actual manufacturing of like how the display is made and like the way the elements now are put together. I would have to go back and look at the thread, obviously, but he was saying that he can't use Macs for that reason, and I just didn't think anything of it. And now I'm like, I wonder if El Caney has the same issue. Like, if there's something about the way the displays are made that he has that same problem. And so, for those of you that don't know what we're talking about, Leander, for before he took a hiatus from the show, for months, maybe even a year, he would complain that he couldn't look at his screen when we did video stuff. It made his eyes hurt like really bad. And he couldn't figure out why. And every time we started doing the show, he would always immediately start complaining about how bad his eyes hurt. And I think that's one of the reasons why he ended up, taking his hiatus, from which I'm not sure he'll ever return. But it kind of sounds similar, doesn't it?
But yeah, I want to.
He works on a computer the rest of the day too,
That's
right?
what I said too. But he said
it's not like he writes the
when he
newsletter
does
from like
video
a
stuff.
paper and pen.
Yeah, it's a quill and scroll back from his younger days.
If you can find that thing, send it to him. Send it to me.
Yeah, I will see if I can find that.
Because I've never heard such a thing.
I hadn't either. Someone's saying, "Where's Buster?" Well, Buster and I have been in communication. I'll have you know. Yeah, he has a brand new box that he's living in. It's very extravagant, and
4 layers.
It's 2-ply, and he's very comfortable. And he was actually talking about coming back on the show. He said he just got a new microphone. And he's like, "Hey, you want to do something?" And I was like, if you want to do something, let's do something. I didn't know you were interested, so maybe Buster might. How about a Buster Heine reunion show where we just like hang out and talk about what's going on in Buster's life? I mean, Buster was a previous member of the show. For those of you that don't know that, anyway, I'm sorry for all these tangents. Let's actually. I mean, before we get into it though, let's see. Oh shoot, I didn't load. I knew I forgot something.
Jeez.
It's okay. Lewis, look.
We're pros. We're pros. We can handle it, I'm sure.
I'm doing this.
A little course correction.
I'm doing this on the fly. And when I stop talking, no one will even know that I didn't have this website loaded because look, there it is. Boom! Factor Meals. Whew-wee. Now that we're in the thick of summer, Lewis, you might be looking for wholesome, convenient meals to support sunny, active days. Am I right? Did I just nail you? That's you in a
Dead
nutshell.
on.
Yep. Factor's America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kits. You can fuel up fast with flavorful and nutritious ready-to-eat meals. Delivered straight to your door, you'll save time, eat well, stay on track while reaching your goals. Do you need an extra boost to support your wellness goals this summer? Try Protein Plus meals with 30 grams of protein or more per serving. Now, this is the one that I got, and I'm lobbying Factor to update their branding from Factor to Manpower, because I think that's a appropriate name for the type of food that they have going on over here. So I got the Protein Plus meals. It is just a big old solid hunk of meat, chicken, beef, pork, and they usually will slather cheese and all sorts of delicious sauces on it. And then you'll get some vegetables along with it. Just look at this picture. Ooh, mama. Look at that, Lewis. They got all sorts of menus, too. They got Calorie Smarts with 550 calories or less. They got keto. They got vegan plus veggie. Oh, yeah, look at that Protein Plus. Oh, yeah. I'm getting hungry just looking at that. They offer flavor-packed options on the menu each week to fit a variety of lifestyles with ingredients you need to feel satisfied all day long while meeting your goals. And if you're looking to mix it up, they got all sorts of different menu types, like I said, that you can try out. This July, get Factor and enjoy eating well without the hassle. Simply choose your meals and enjoy fresh, flavor-packed meals delivered to your door, ready in just 2 minutes, no prep, no mess. I loved the Factor foods that I got. They're absolutely delicious, and they keep you full. And they heat up so fast. Like usually in just a few minutes, you can have it ready to roll. And even when you reheat it, the chicken was still juicy, delicious. Like all the meals were really distinct and flavorful. It is the best ready-to-eat meal kit that I've tried. Like truly it was. Really delicious. And if you want to try it out yourself, head to factormeals.com/CultCast50 and use code CultCast50 to get 50% off. That's factormeals.com/CultCast50 and use code CultCast50 to get 50% off. I definitely suggest that you try it out. Food is expensive these days. You all know that.
Oh my God.
It's so expensive, and if you go and you get 50% off, worst case scenario, you're going to get a bunch of food at a really expensive price. I guarantee you're going to like it. The only decision you'll have to make at that point is, do you want to continue with your subscription? But it is definitely worth trying for 50% off because it will be so inexpensive for you. Were you going to say something, Luce?
Well, I went to a grocery store last week. One that I don't normally go to, and I was absolutely shocked at how expensive food was.
Yeah.
I mean,
like our Costco bills. So we go to Costco like once every 2 weeks. We used to spend like usually around $200 every trip, and now we can't get out of there. We can't get out of a Costco without spending $400, and we just buy food. That's all we buy. Not buying like car wash kits or anything crazy.
like beef has gone to the roof at Costco, but
everything has. Chicken has.
The rotisserie chicken is still the deal of a lifetime.
Dude, they have got to be taking a bath on those rotisserie chickens. I mean, they have got to be. I would imagine each one of those chickens cost them $10 at least. At least, because you got to cook the dang thing too. And if you have any facial hair, Costco makes you put on like a beard net, a hair net. They're probably spending $10,000 a day just on beard nets at that place.
Oh,
all the netting that has to happen in order for you. I used to have a friend that worked at the food court. I mean, that guy went through netting like you wouldn't believe. Every day, he had put on like 8 different nets on his body. Throw them all away.
So
make that chicken for you.
Yeah. So with these Factor ones, have you ever gone for the chef's choice?
I have not tried the chef's choice because I'm a protein man, Lewis.
It's a little.
I need the power for my workout.
Do you get to pick the actual meals you get, or is it just like, oh, give me a week of protein?
Well, you choose the category, and then they send you stuff within that category. You might be able to specify exactly what you want. I don't know if you can do that. I didn't try. It's possible.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. But they always send you a variety of stuff. So
sounds like a great deal.
Yeah, 50% off, absolutely. So go try it out. Let's dive into the show. We've been talking about everything but Apple stuff for the last 30 minutes. And of course, we spent the first 45 minutes talking about Airbnb again. I had an absolutely terrific idea that Lewis and Griffin, they thought it was great. So, you know what? I got to do it. I'm going to just pitch the idea.
Not sure how accurate this is.
I'm going to just pitch the idea.
Really, before we get to the Apple news, you're going to once again...
Okay, fine. Okay, you know what? You're right. Let's continue with the
Stick
Apple.
around to the end of the show.
Stick around to the end of the idea. I'm going to pitch you this idea that I had that I thought was a great idea in the real estate market. Lewis laughed at me. My wife told me it was a terrible idea. Griffin grimaced. He laughed, and then he grimaced more. But I still think it's a good idea. We'll talk about it at the end of the show. But you're right. We should dive into the Apple stuff because that's what everyone's here for. Okay, let's talk about iPhone 15. iPhone 15 might be getting much better battery life than you were expecting. That's a good thing, right? Stacked batteries could let iPhone 15 go longer between charges. Apple will put batteries that could last up to 10% longer in the upcoming iPhone 15, which is, believe it or not, 2 months away at this point? I'm very excited. According to an unconfirmed report, these will be stacked batteries rather than wound ones. If you're like me, you probably had no idea what that even means. I'm going to explain this briefly in just a moment. RG Cloud S, best known for Android rumors, claims via Twitter that the entire...
Sentence is not here.
Yeah, I deleted the... the entire iPhone series is moving to stacked batteries is what that's supposed to say. I'm like, where did the end of that sentence go? Currently, the batteries used in iPhone and other Apple devices are wound. Long sheets of cathode separator and an anode are rolled up and then inserted into a rectangular casing to form a cell. iPhone 15 line will make the switch to stacked batteries. Quote, lithium-ion cell products formed by stacking have a higher energy density, a more stable internal structure, a higher level of safety, and a longer lifespan. Well, that last piece is especially important because I don't know if you've looked at how fast your battery degrades in your iPhone, but it drops. I think mine drops 5 or 6% a year in capacity. Let's see here. If true, it will give Apple batteries more holding power without taking up additional space, or it could mean that the batteries with their current capacity are less bulky. Batteries may also be safer. If one of the stacked cells has a problem, it can be shut off while the remaining cells continue to work. So I think this is cool. It might mean that we're going to get much better battery life in the phone, but more than that, I think more importantly than that, it will mean that the battery will maintain its maximum charge capacity for a much longer period of time. You know, it's funny, small tangent is I've tried something completely different on my MacBook Pro. So I've always been extremely anal about my battery in my MacBook Pro, and I will leave it charged pretty much all the time. Just leave it charging. And I noticed that after the first year on my last MacBook Pro, my battery life had degraded by 12%. In 1 year, it dropped 12% in capacity. So this year, with this MacBook Pro, I have the M1 Max MacBook Pro, the 16-inch. I was like, I'm going to try to be less stressed about this, less anal. I'm going to just plug it in to charge it when it needs to be charged, and then just let it operate off the battery life and not leave it charged all the time. And then the other thing that I did was I installed a free app called Al Dente, which will make it so that when your battery charges, it will stop charging at 80% capacity, which is the number that you want to keep it at or under in order to not overcharge the battery if you're not going to be using it right away. So it's a great utility to use if you want to leave your battery charging at all times. I just checked yesterday. So I've had this MacBook Pro for probably a year, maybe a little bit longer. It's at 98% still capacity. So using your battery as a battery and not just leaving it charged all the time and not charging it over 80% if you don't need to made a drastic impact. So my battery is basically still in almost new condition. Isn't that crazy? Just do a little battery maintenance. Yeah. So no need to be stressed about about battery degradation if you actually use it. And Al Dente is free. They have a paid version of it that will give you some extra features, but you don't need those extra features in my opinion. You can just use it as the free version. So if you want to leave your MacBook Pro plugged in, then I would definitely suggest you download that app and set it so that your battery never charges above 80%, because if you leave your battery charging, as long as it's under 80%, it doesn't degrade very fast. It's when you get it above 80% or below 20 it starts damaging the battery and reducing capacity. So there you go. There's your iPhone 15 update for this week. We're 2 months away, so I imagine that we're going to start getting more and more leaks here as we get closer to the actual release date. I'm super excited because I have an iPhone 13 Pro. Let's just say, though, you're a man of cutting-edge technology. You don't really care about iPhone 15. You're already thinking into the future. You want to get your hands on that iPhone 16 action. Well, we got a pretty big update here in regards to the camera around the iPhone 16. In fact, I would venture to say this is a massive change to the iPhone camera. Am I right there, Griffin?
Oh, yeah. So, well, this year's iPhone 15 will, another one of the rumors is that it's going to have what's called a periscope camera, like a periscope lens. This is where instead of having all of the camera elements, like the various glass layers and focusing things in the sensor, instead of having that go through the phone, wherein you're limited by the thickness of the phone, you have like two sort of like 45-degree angle mirrors so that you can have all of the camera elements go like down the phone, like down the inside of it instead. This is apparently going to be coming to the iPhone 15. So the iPhone 15 Pro Max telephoto lens will use this, and you're going to still get like the same sort of 3x zoom as you do optically, as you can currently get on the iPhone 14. They're only doing this at first to reduce the level of camera bump.
Amen.
And reduce the thickness
I welcome that.
of the overall package. That'll be nice. For the iPhone 16, the following year, they're going to go one step further. According to a post by someone who goes by Digital Chat Station on Weibo, the iPhone 16 Pro Max will come with an ultra-long telephoto periscope lens. This is a term that's reserved for cameras with a very high focal length of 300 millimeters or greater. In plain English, it's a camera that can zoom really far. So Apple calls the 77 millimeter lens that you can get right now on the iPhone 14 Pro, they call that a 3x zoom. So if you do just a little bit of math, a greater than 300 millimeter lens might enable a 12x zoom. So you'll get like much more reach. I have some example pictures in the article that I found on Flickr of like what 300 millimeter pictures look like. You can get zoom ins from like incredibly far away. You get like that very natural, like sort of a background blur effect that portrait mode likes to fake up. But you'll get that, real. All the example pictures I could find were like of like birds and plants. So like birders are going to love the iPhone 16 Pro Max. But right now you can get like a 10x zoom. That's like a digital zoom where like it just sort of like crops in on the sensor.
I got that comment, Lewis. Yeah, so will Peepin' Tom's like LK. Great. Now he can zoom right into your bedroom from that tree he's perched on. What were you saying, Lewis?
That's it.
That's it. You agree. Yeah.
I'm excited about this, though. I mean, anything they can do to get a better zoom is awesome, because that's one of the things I love to do with my phone. And, it's not that strong. I mean, that's the one thing that I miss from, the good old days with film cameras and long lenses and that kind of thing. So it'd be great. It'd be great if they do that. And by the way, I don't know if you managed to show on the screen the fantastic graphic that Griffin did to illustrate the article that explains exactly what that periscope lens might look like.
Oh, you know what? I did show this graphic, and I thought, well, it's a nice-looking graphic, but
the story behind that is that the Mac Rumors version of the article has this really awesome like 3D render, and I looked for the source of the image. It looks like it came from Mac Rumors. I was like, oh, I can't copy that. So I just spent like 20 minutes like poorly recreating it in Pixelmator myself.
It explains if you do that in 20 minutes, I think that's great. Yeah, that looks good.
Get your application into USA Today. You'll be making infographics for the rest of your life.
That doesn't sound like a bad job.
Infographics. What? Those were such a. Are they still a thing? I mean, I haven't seen a USA Today in ages. I don't even know if they're still in business.
They feel like very 2010s web to me.
I'm still a fan. I think they easily communicate complicated concepts with one simple image. So I'm a fan. Now, I still don't necessarily understand what's happening in this image that you made here, Griffin, but let me read the... Okay, all right, yeah, all right. Okay, yeah. Oh, there, I see it now.
It makes perfect sense.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I just had to read the caption.
Then there's a picture of a ferret or something. What is that?
Let's see here.
A dingo.
Is it a dingo?
I don't know. What is?
I didn't know what it is either. If you look at the file name, I think I named it of like, telephoto, zoom, bat, or lemur or something.
You put super telephoto,
Bat
super
or
telephoto, bat
or
or lemur or
something.
something. I don't know. That's what the
It's an
vision impaired
upside-down
get to
bat.
see. Great. Yeah, that's wonderful. Let's see here. And then there's some nice, beautiful leaves. I would say the zoom function is one of the things that is most magical about the iPhone. I mean, that zoom user experience that they designed is so genius. How you can just swipe your thumb up and down on where the lenses are to make it zoom in and out. I use that all the time. And 300 millimeters is bonkers. Like a 300 millimeter lens for a full frame camera, that thing is going to be about, I don't know, 16 inches long, maybe. And
It's gonna weigh like 5
4
pounds.
4 or 5 pounds. Like, those lenses are so big that usually when the pros attach them to the tripod, normally when you're attaching a camera to a tripod, you attach the camera to the tripod and the lens just hangs off the front. Those lenses are so big that you attach the lens to the tripod and the camera hangs off the back because they're just so big and beefy. So being able to zoom in on something like 300 millimeters is bonkers. That would be super useful. I just wish we had something like this when those guys robbed me of my iPhone, Lewis. And I was trying to catch that little punk kid, but he was too fast. And then he got into that car, but it was so far away that I was like, there's no way. So I took a picture, but, the iPhone at that time didn't have zoom. So I still have the picture today. If only we could, like, pump it through some engine like they do on, like, those CSI shows and reconstruct the pixels.
Zoom in on quadrant 3.
Zoom in, clear that up. Yeah, like that doesn't exist. Although, actually, you know what? With all the new generative AI stuff in Photoshop now, which is unbelievably good, I wonder if I could. I could zoom into it.
Yeah, have it zoom in and give you, and then just create some license plate.
Create a license plate and then send it to the cops.
Yeah, and see if you can get somebody's house raided.
Let's Level Remix says it's called AI upscaling. I should try. I don't know if there's enough information in that image to actually accurately recreate it.
Do you still have this like on your desktop? You look at it,
dude. I can't.
Just look at it every day. Like, if only I could find this guy.
Yeah, I just pummel my hand or my fist into my palm. Yeah,
Which model of iPhone was stolen from you?
Oh, I think it was the iPhone 6. It was a while ago.
Oh,
So selling one.
that one's not worth hunting down.
Well, it's not anymore, but it was $1,000 at the time. I think something crazy like that. And I met this guy at a 7-Eleven to sell it to him. And I was like, hey, here's the iPhone. And he just grabs it out of my hand and took off running. And
What a great
he
idea.
was faster.
7-Eleven.
Yeah. I mean, and the 7-Eleven had camera footage of the whole thing. I called the cops. They showed up. I was like, are you going to get the camera footage? And she's like, oh, yeah, we'll get right on that. She's like high-fiving her cop buddies behind her. They didn't care. They never looked into it. They never went and got the footage. Could not have.
That's
cared
great.
less, you know what I mean? So if I could figure out a way to upscale that license plate, dude, that would be incredible. That would be incredible. Wow.
Can you imagine you go knock on the guy's door? Hey, like 8 years ago, you stole a phone from me.
Dude, anything is
I'm
possible.
here to get it back.
Anything is possible, Lewis. I saw a story 2 days ago that police had raided a Las Vegas home in connection. Did you guys hear this? Did you hear this story?
Don't know.
In connection with the murder of Tupac Shakur.
What?
Tupac Shakur's murder. They
No, did not hear this.
I saw this briefly on Twitter. I didn't actually go read the story, but I was mind blown. I was like, holy cow. They're still looking into this. I mean, that was a huge mystery, right? Like the murder of Tupac Shakur. He got shot up in this car. No one knows who did it. There have been documentaries about what they think happened. And now the police have raided a home in connection to his murder. So anything is possible. Like if they find Tupac's killer after all this time, there was a serial killer that they've been searching for forever. And I heard that they recently just apprehended a guy who they think is the suspect. And I heard that they narrowed him down via some technology process, and then they got his handprint. I'm probably totally butchering this story. They got his handprint off of like a piece of crust from like pizza, and they figured out it was him or something. It was something crazy like that. I mean, technology is getting to the point where they can find you, man. So if they can find Tupac's killer,
pretty wild.
Nothing's impossible. All right, let's see here. Where are we going with this? We're all over the place. There's your iPhone 16 story. Oh yeah, we got to do some mind-blowing continuity features. Griffin wrote a great story about some of the continuity features every Apple user should know. We'll have a link to this in the show notes because I don't think we're going to read all these. Griffin, you're going to just cover a couple of these, right? But there was a couple of them in here that I did not know. So I think that this is something that people might want to, check out because you might learn a couple things. But take it away.
Oh yeah, like I even learned something when I was writing this article too. Apple has a page on their website where they just list all of them. I summarized it in a more user-friendly way. I do videos and articles like these every weekend, every Saturday morning. You can find something like this. If you're listening to the podcast, you can just go to the Cult of Mac YouTube channel. If you're currently watching us stream live, hey, just subscribe to our channel and you'll see all these videos that I do every week. This is the continuity features. These are things that the thing about continuity is that these are things that PCs and Android devices just can't do whatsoever. There's no one else that owns the hardware and the software to this degree. But the downside is that that means that PC guys who buy Macs and iPhones, they don't know to look for these features because they just don't think computers can do things like this. So number one, continuity camera. You keep your iPhone locked. You hold it sort of behind your display. You can put it on a tripod. You can just bounce it on a stack of books or something, or you can buy one of these Belkin mounts that my phone is currently on right now. I'd show you, but my phone, I'm using it for my camera, so I can't really do that. But then you just wait a minute, and then your computer will start using your phone's camera instead of your crummy little MacBook webcam. If you want to up your video game on a conference call, if you want to look good, if you want to film videos or do a podcast like I'm doing exactly right now, you can use continuity camera for that. There is also handoff. This is one of the original continuity features that they debuted in 2014 or 2015 or something. You're working on your Mac, you're writing an email or something. I don't know, you have to go to the bathroom, so you take your phone with you. Well, you can actually keep writing your email on your phone that you started on your computer. You don't have to save it as a draft or something. You go to the multitasking menu, open on your phone, you swipe up, so you see all your apps. Then there'll be a little bubble on the bottom where you can just pick up exactly where you left off. This works in Mail, Messages, if you're composing a long message, in Notes, Safari, and it goes the other way around too. You're reading an article on your phone and you sit back down on your desk, you unlock your Mac, and then you'll see an extra little icon on your dock on the far right, and it'll say Safari from iPhone, something like that. You click on it, and then boom, you're reading the same article that you were just reading on your phone, except now you're on your Mac on a bigger screen. So this works with all kinds of apps. It works with a bunch of third-party apps too, I am told, but I don't use a lot of third-party apps, so I wouldn't know. I presume it probably works with Microsoft Office. I tried to get somebody to confirm that for me, but
I haven't tried that.
Who uses Microsoft Office these days? I don't know.
I actually do like Microsoft Office. I primarily use it on my PC, but I should try that and see if it works on my Mac.
Yeah, then I might update the article as well, if you can confirm that. Microsoft Office, I know it works in a bunch of the Mastodon clients like Mona. It works in NetNewsWire, which is an RSS reader, but
NetNewsWire,
if you're one of
heard that uttered in a long time. Wow.
If you're one of the 12 people who still reads RSS feeds, you'll be happy to.
RSS.
Yeah, I used to use those all the time.
So,
okay,
anyways,
cool.
You can see the video or read the article for the remaining 4 in the show notes or on the Cult of Mac YouTube channel.
Yeah, I'll link to this stuff right in the show notes, and it's so easy. If you all don't ever use the show notes and the podcast app, I don't know how other apps present the show notes, but I was looking at the podcast app recently, and the show notes are so easy to access. I think you literally just, let's see here if I can get this show up. No, of course it's not working.
And I will also say, the video that's going up this weekend, I made it just for you, Erfan. I had you in mind.
Did you really?
I did, yeah.
Now I'm gonna have to go back and watch it. I'll have to go check that out.
You'll have to watch it on Saturday.
On Saturday when it goes up? Oh, the one that's coming
Mhm.
out. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm intrigued. Okay. Well, I'll definitely go and keep refreshing all day Saturday, waiting for the video to
Please
come out.
do.
And
Visit early and often. Just keep refreshing.
just keep refreshing, please. And I also want to show you guys this just real fast. I found it. Yeah. So let's see here. SF Gate, Lewis. SF Gate. Las Vegas police took. Oh no, wait, that's not it. Scroll down.
Oh, I found this thing.
Las Vegas police took laptops, documents from homes searched in Tupac Shakur's 1996 killing. This is July 20th, 2023. A home that Las Vegas police searched this week in connection with the 1996 drive-by shooting of Tupac Shakur is tied to a man long known to investigators whose nephew had emerged as a suspect shortly after the rapper's killing. That is just wild, man. It's almost 20 years ago. And someone was saying, let's see here. I'm looking through the chat. Statute of limitations. Yeah, I don't think statute of limitations.
There is none.
Yeah, not for
murder.
murders. I think those are anytime you want to solve those, you're going to the slammer. So I hope they catch the guy who did it, man. He was one of my favorite artists of the time. Man, his album All Eyes on Me, it's a banger, Lewis. Banger.
Is it now?
Oh, dude. One of the greatest albums of all time.
Have to admit, I've never listened to it.
Well, you should
Probably
check it out.
heard it, but never
It's
listened.
on Apple Music. Check it out.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Let's see here. Where are we going with this? Lewis, did you have a giveaway you want to talk about?
I do have a giveaway.
Should we mention that just real fast?
Sure.
Since
It's a great one this week. Well, it's almost always a great one. And I mean, heck, if you get any of these things, it's great, right? Because it's totally free to enter. This week we're giving away a slim leather folio laptop case number 7, which is really one of the crazier names.
That is beautiful.
It's from Harbour, London. It's a beautiful looking. I haven't seen one of these, but it looks so good. You can almost smell the leather just looking at the picture. It's sleek
that's
leather
nice.
laptop folio, perfect for a MacBook. It holds any laptop, 11 inches to 16 inches. Comes in tan, black, navy, and deep brown. Full grain leather folio. It's going to age beautifully over time. It really does look like one of the more stylish things I've seen as far as like a laptop sleeve goes. These things go for $132 with I guess you get free track delivery. Wow. Okay, great. I don't know that that's a selling point, but sure, why not? I like.
Hey,
I do like
you're
free
gonna get it.
delivery.
Yeah.
The tracked part, whatever. Okay. It's tough leather on exterior, soft wool felt lining, so your precious laptop doesn't get scratched up. And get this is something I hadn't seen before: anti-scratch zipper, so that
That is important, man. I
Yeah.
I have a bag that I was using for a while. I had a metal zipper, and then I realized if I keep using this bag, it's not the zipper isn't lined underneath it, right? And so the metal is going to rub against my MacBook Pro. I can't use the bag anymore for my
You're gonna have a
MacBook Pro.
rash. Gonna have a
Exactly.
rash on that laptop.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Nobody likes a laptop rash.
No one likes it.
Let's
I'm
see.
sure there probably are some fetishists out there who do like it, but for the most
Oh,
part, no.
jeez, weirdos.
LK probably loves it.
So anyway, this giveaway is going for a good solid week now. Left. So you got plenty of time to get in there and enter. Go to the homepage, cultamac.com, scroll down to the giveaway section. You'll see a beautiful picture of this laptop. It says enter to win. So you just click that, you go in there and you scroll down to the entry widget after you read all about how fantastic this thing is. And you enter. Entry is free. You can enter a bunch of times, bunch of different ways, like visiting a Instagram page or signing up for the newsletter, which the newsletter is the main thing that you probably want to do this. And the newsletter's free too. It's all free.
Oh,
it's all
man.
great. I mean, what
You guys need to rethink
is
this, Lewis. We
like
can't
the
just keep giving everything away for free.
the Venn diagram of free and excellent it's just like two circles overlapping. It's all it is. It's
you're too
100%
generous.
great and 100% free.
Yeah, you got to rethink this. We got to talk about this after the show. We may make all this stuff pay to play after the show, so take advantage of it while you still can. I was just gonna say, someone was asking about the podcast notes. If you're in the podcast app, the Apple Podcast app, if you just tap the name of the episode, so last week's title was iPhone 15 is incoming. If you just tap that, it will take you to the actual show notes page, which you probably can't see because my phone wants to. Oh wait, look at that! It actually worked. Look at that. Look at that beautiful album art that Griffin made for us. And you can see all the show notes. They're all like beautifully formatted HTML. So if you have not realized that you could do that, it's a great way to see the actual show notes because we put links to everything in there. Okay. I'm completely lost. Let's take a look at what do we got going on here next. What did I do with my my show notes here? Oh, yeah. There we go. So we talked about, what's going on? I'm losing it.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, sorry, my show notes got hidden. And that's because I have the Tupac notes open. Do you want to talk about Apple's version of ChatGPT there, Lewis?
Sure.
Since
ChatGPT, the
it's gonna be a
hottest thing in the
game
world.
changer. Oh, actually, you know what? I'm sorry. Before you do that, I do need to give a quick shout out to our friends over at the Twit Network. I would be remiss if I didn't mention them. And actually, I'm going to see if I can bring up twit.tv while I'm talking about this, just to give everyone a little bit of visual action. Are you not familiar with twit.tv? I don't know how that's possible. Leah Laporte and friends, some of the originators in the podcast world. Well, let me tell you, have we got a great recommendation for you guys. When it comes to Apple, these guys know what they're talking about, Lewis. Leo Laporte of the Twit Network bought his first Mac over 40 years ago in 1984. I think he was 55 years old. And he has been an Apple lover ever since. That's probably why they have 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 Apple podcasts on the Twit Podcast Network. The oldest, of course, is Mac Break Weekly, which I've been on several times, though not for a long time. I wonder why they never invite me back. I should send an email about that.
An angry email.
Well, that's the only kind I send. Started almost 20 years ago. Alex Lindsay, Andy Anatko, a.k.a. Wolverine's older uncle, Jason Snell, and Leo talk about the latest Apple news. They are Apple fans, but not Apple fanboys. I think that describes us as well. They call it as they see it, just like us. And sometimes they are a little hard on Apple, just like us. They also do a show called iOS Today with Micah Sargent and Rosemary Orchard. If you're into iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches, or Apple TV, and if you're listening to this show, I presume that you are. Then, of course, there's Hands on Mac, inside tips from Micah Sargent on getting the most out of your Mac every week, expert analysis, helpful advice, entertaining discussions. Go to twit.tv/Apple to find your next favorite podcast. In fact, I loaded the wrong thing, didn't I? Twit.tv Twit.
Wow.
Twit, that was my mistake. Twit.tv/Apple. Can we load it? There it is. Oh my goodness. We have to get our act together, Lewis. Look at this website. This looks terrific.
Oh, it's bouncing around. It's
This
beautiful.
thing's bouncing, flying in from the edges. Who did they hire?
Wow.
They hired Tim Cook to program this website for them. This looks amazing. My goodness. Craig Federighi might have made this. Thanks to Twit for supporting our show. They're promoting our show over there on Twit. So, we're doing a little exchange action going. All right, Lewis, back to you for the hottest news in AI, Apple AI, coming to a Mac near you, maybe.
Yeah, so Apple reportedly developed its own generative AI chatbot, very similar to OpenAI's ChatGPT. May never be released, but the underlying tech is already going into the company's applications and services. So you might recall we were talking about how Apple already uses AI. They don't crow about it. They just they like to call it ML, machine learning. Yeah. Anyway, ChatGPT has been getting all the headlines, and it is really, honestly amazing some of the things you can do with it, right? Some people are saying it needs to be slowed down, but, this is clearly like the next big thing. Google Bard is doing stuff, and Apple has been conspicuously quiet. They didn't even mention AI. We talked about this at their last WWDC thing. We all thought that they would, try to get in on the action, right? By just even mentioning, hey, some of the stuff we do is already AI. But anyway, so here's the latest thing. Apple supposedly developed an AI framework called Ajax. This comes from Bloomberg. I'm sure you can guess the reporter. Citing only unnamed sources with, quote, knowledge of the efforts. But Apple's been getting a little bit beat up because they seem to be dragging their feet on generative AI. But the reason that they're taking it slow, like they kind of always do, the main reason, privacy concerns. If any given AI system becomes more useful as it learns about its user, it can make increasingly helpful suggestions as it learns the interests, needs, and preferences of the person it communicates with. All of this could be a huge privacy violation if that data is accessible by the company to develop the AI. Apple is, of course, aware of this, and as Bloomberg noted in its piece on Ajax, quote, the work includes trying to address potential privacy concerns related to the technology. That was, if you remember, we were talking about that humane thing, right? Which I can't remember. Isn't it called like the humane pin now? Didn't we get the final name, the humane pin?
The humane AI pin. AI isn't
humane
capitalized.
AI pin. Right.
And they also don't
idea what
specify
you're
how you're
talking
supposed to pronounce it either.
So it looks like iPin, like it looks like an appetizer at a Thai restaurant or something.
And what is this supposed to be? I have no clue.
This is that iPhone killer thing that got demoed at TED a while back. It's a little device that sits in your pocket and shines a little.
It's like
Humane's the company behind it,
Okay.
and people who worked at Apple and worked on the iPhone, and supposedly this thing is the next big thing. But the thing that was exciting about that I found interesting is that they were talking about an AI device that knows you and responds to your stuff. Like, for instance, you say, "Hey, can I eat this candy bar?" And it says, "No, you can't, you moron, because you're allergic to peanuts." Right? That kind of thing. And that's what this report is talking about, is Apple coming up with stuff that knows you. And that's what Apple does a lot, right? The AI stuff, the machine learning stuff is on device machine learning. It doesn't go to Apple. Apple keeps it sequestered. And that's one reason it sucks. I mean, is not as powerful as other things.
I was just thinking this is why they lose. Now look, I'm happy that they keep privacy front and center. That's what I love about
Sure,
Apple. But this is why they lose. Because it's a serious encumbrance for them, right? They can't do what Google does. They can't do what Amazon does because they care a lot about your privacy, and it limits what they're able to do, which is disappointing. But so for that reason, I don't know if an Apple ChatGPT anything would win. I don't even know what AI means anymore. I mean, that term is so overused. Everyone's putting it into everything. It's like, try the new AI Snickers. It's like they're just putting that word everywhere because people pay attention to it. Although there are some definite places where the results are incredible, like with what Adobe's doing with generative AI is like the most mind-blowing, some of the most mind-blowing examples of what is possible. Like I keep seeing videos of people using Adobe generative AI to change the format of movie aspect ratio. So they'll take Star Wars and they'll make it 19. They'll change it from 19 or 16 by 9 to 19, 16 by 9 to 9 by 16. So it's a vertical format like on TikTok. And the generative AI has to basically create the top and the bottom of the movie footage because it doesn't exist to make it vertical. And dude, it does it. It makes it look so good. There's a picture that I was working on. So we got this picture at Disney World. My friend and I, in front of this bronze statue of Gaston. It's like this incredible statue. But there's all these vacationers sitting all around this. It's in the middle of a fountain. And there's all these people sitting all around it. And so I used generative AI to remove those people and rebuild the image. Like the part that doesn't exist when you remove those people, I used generative AI to rebuild those areas. And it was perfect. Perfect. Like it looked like I took that picture and there was no one standing in front of that fountain except for me and my friend. It was incredible. And it took me like probably 15 seconds to do. It is mind-blowing how good it is.
Yep. Photoshop has stuff like that built into it now too with what's it called? Firefly, I believe, is the Adobe
that's
technology.
actually what I used to retouch that image. But they are building that stuff into their video editing tool as well. So there are some really incredible examples of what generative AI can do. Now we'll see what Apple ends up doing with it. Like
I think the big question is what features they're actually going to build using it, because Apple doesn't make image editing software anymore. Apple isn't going to compete with ChatGPT because that's just not a product that they're interested in making. Like ChatGPT is just like a glorified talk box thing. Apple doesn't make anything like that. So I don't know what Apple's
Well,
like I mean, one application that a lot of people are asking for is like there's all of these AI powered systems that can help you code,
I was just going to
you
mention
know, and
Xcode.
Xcode
Yeah.
doesn't do anything like that. And you know, I use Xcode, so I don't know what it's like, but I've heard a lot of people rave about it. Like GitHub has one called GitHub Copilot, and because like Microsoft owns GitHub, and they also have this giant investment in OpenAI, like they're bringing it to like Visual Studio Code everywhere else, and that could be really powerful.
there's
Like
tons of things
God,
like
God knows
this.
Apple's documentation for their APIs and all that isn't really good enough to, you know, teach any humans what you're supposed to do. So like that would be really helpful. I
Yeah,
don't know,
I
like
mean,
the
imagine
little.
having in Pages a thing where you just say, okay, here's my first 3 paragraphs. Could you please rewrite it in something resembling English?
Mhm.
You
I
can totally
mean,
build it into the Photos app too. Photos app.
yeah, all kinds
Yeah,
of things,
yeah.
And as this report says, Apple already deployed AI related stuff in, search, Siri, Maps, and what this report is talking about, this thing called Apple GPT. They're saying that Ajax, this thing, Ajax is now being used to create large language models and serve as a foundation for an internal ChatGPT style tool. That's the Apple GPT thing, and if you remember a while back, they said like I believe they said that Apple employees had been banned from using ChatGPT or something. They were like kind of
Sure.
a lot of companies have been doing this. They're freaked out. They don't want people putting any information into this that then goes someplace else, right? But those kinds of things where there's like little tools inside of products, that's where Apple could employ this kind of stuff, right? Like exactly like the stuff with the photos. And I mean, in reality, isn't that what this stuff already is? I mean, when you go and edit a photo, I mean, I don't know that it's artificial intelligence, but it is based on machine learning, right? So is it technically AI when you go in and say, hey, make this picture look better? But it's
I
not
mean, none of it is
really
really AI. It's all just like glorified applied statistics. Like there's no
algorithms and
intelligence
stuff.
to anything. That's kind of the problem with it.
Yeah, I mean, it gets to me, it gets like I don't know exactly what the definition of artificial intelligence is with any of this stuff, right? I mean, I know it's amazing when you go in and say to something, "Hey, rewrite this deals post in the style of Lord Byron or something," and it does it in a second, and you'll just go, "Whoa, how did it do that so fast?" And it's quite amazing.
Remember that remember that CultCast promo we wrote?
Yeah, yeah, I do. I still break out in a cold sweat when I think about that.
Lewis's face went pale when I showed him what ChatGPT could do. There's this. I think I've talked about this on the show before. We had like this script that we were supposed to read as a CultCast promo, and I was like, I wonder if we could make this better with ChatGPT. So we had it write one for us, and it wrote like the best script. It was better than anything that we had. It knew like nuanced things about the show, like if you were talking to someone who listened to the show might say about the show. It knew that stuff, and it wove that stuff into one of the best scripts that I've seen. And Lewis was in utter disbelief. He could not believe what he was seeing.
It was uncanny, man. I mean, it nailed what we do. It was so much better than the original copy that we had.
Yes, it was.
It was
good.
just amazing.
It was great. Yeah. Anyway, we'll see what happens with this. I don't know. I mean, this is the new trendy stuff, right? So everyone's falling in line to figure out how to make it work and what they can even do with it. I find this stuff tremendously fascinating. Like I follow so many different people when it comes to machine learning stuff because it's moving so rapidly, and these calls for people who want to slow down the technology and for all of us to be careful. Like I think that's probably smart. There's no way that's happening. This stuff is moving at a breakneck speed. I don't know how you control it. It's like the internet at this point. It's Skynet, man. Like once you release it, that's it. Like you can't put it back because it exists on the internet all over the place. Like you can't control it. It doesn't have any boundaries. So even if you create laws, people just will, figure out ways to get around this stuff, putting it on the web. So, but it is fascinating. It can do a lot of crazy stuff.
I mean, have you heard some of the stories about the AI things where like they I can't remember what this was, but somebody tasked the AI with, hey, do this thing, right? And it's like it came up with sneaky workarounds. Like it was told, oh, you are not allowed to do X, Y, or Z. You cannot do this. But it hired someone to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like it hired someone to shut off the electricity or something. It was just the crazy. That's the unintended consequence kind of stuff that's just freaky, man. Like you start tasking this stuff to do things, and it's got endless energy. It's connected to the internet. It can just go to hire a task rabbit to, take all the wheel. Hey,
Dude,
I need
it
to
is
make sure
so-
Erfan doesn't make it to his appointment. So but you can't hurt him. But it hires a task rabbit person to go and take the wheels off your car or something. I mean,
And
it's
that's exactly
nutty.
why Apple is entering this slowly and cautiously, because they want to allow other companies to take the fall for all of those technologies, and they don't want that tied to any of their Siri features whatsoever.
if you haven't seen Terminator 3, there's one sequence in that film where Skynet becomes active that they show you, and a large part of the movie is leading up to like how Skynet becomes active. And dude, it is so similar to things that we see going on now in the way that machine learning and AI operates in order to enable itself to do things that that technically it's not allowed to do. It's crazy, man. And then once it gets set loose, it's like we all know what happens after that.
Not unsettling at all,
You
is
got a guy with an Austrian accent coming to say hi to you.
Frankly, I'd just be shocked if Siri could learn to put my last name after my first name and spell them both correctly consistently.
Yeah, that would be a miracle in machine learning, wouldn't it? If only the technology existed. Let's see here. I think we got to move on here. We're, of course, running way behind.
If only the technology existed.
It took a few minutes for your AI to process that.
Man, I have had a thing lately where I say no. I put in a sentence, blah 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 something, and I know that it'll do this, and it changes it from KNOW.
I know,
not
man.
to NO, but get this, to NGO.
Wow.
Like,
It's embarrassing.
a person's last name. It's insane. I mean, I couldn't. There's no leap of intelligence that leads it to that. It's like it's the opposite of intelligence. It's brain damage.
It's counterintelligence. Okay, look, Griffin, I send this to you to speak about this story swiftly and in a way that will make it relevant to the listeners. That's a challenge, I know. But
Okay,
we got to
so-
at least blast through this story because we're like 15 hours long here.
Sure. So this is news that broke on a different podcast, Upgrade, with Mike Hurley and Jason Snell. An anonymous tipster wrote in. This was in response to a discussion they were having about the Mac Pro. This anonymous person apparently has some details on it. We all know that with the M1 and the M2 generation, there was like the rumor that they were going to have like a quad chip. Like, if you don't know what that is, they take the M1 or M2 Max as a basis, and then they double it to make the M2 Ultra.
Right.
Well, there was the rumor that they were going to quadruple it and to make like the M1 or M2 Extreme. This was a rumor, but then Mark Gurman said like a while ago that Apple canned it. If you were holding out hope that the quad chip would come back in M3, apparently that's not going to happen. When Apple canned the quad chip, they removed it from all of their roadmaps. So it's not going to happen, at least through the M7 generation. And apparently this person says that right now they're already working on the M5. So they have this whole Apple Silicon roadmap planned out years and years in advance. But there is secret good news, because the M8, I know, like 6 years from now, the M8 chip, that generation of chips, will be manufactured with what is called multi-die packaging. This allows the CPU and GPU parts of the chip to be fabricated on different dies and packaged together after the fact, in the same way that they do this with entire chips right now. So right now they fabricate the CPU, the GPU, the neural engine, the memory, all of that on one thing in one go, which is why the higher configurations are so expensive and why they can't scale it up very easily. But if they can build these future processors out of smaller parts, that would enable them to effectively build the same thing much easier and much cheaper. So they continue. With this design, it is conceivable that we could have 3, 4, or 5 or more GPU dies with 1 or 2 CPU for a graphics powerhouse, or vice versa, according to the source. And while no such plans exist yet, they say, the M8 is a long ways away, so this could be on the table in the future. This could mean that they could actually build the Mac Pro computer that we were all hoping for, where it's many times more powerful than what you can get anywhere else. It could mean that like the Mac Studio will have or the MacBook Pro will have much more dynamic configurations where you can say, yeah, I don't need a lot of CPU power, but I need a lot of GPU power. Or like, yeah, I don't play games or export video, but I want just the fastest CPU I can get at a lower price than ordering the whole gambit all at once.
It's the lower
Could
price
be
part
good
that
news.
I think.
Good news for 2020. What would that be? 2031.
So in 2031, you might get that Mac Pro that you were hoping for. It does seem interesting. I mean, Griff and I were talking about this before the show, and he was like, maybe they'll lower the price, and I was like, Apple lowering the price, wouldn't that be nice? If only TC would do that for us. Sometimes they do it. It does happen, but it's not very often, is it? Usually when they have a cost savings, they pass it on to themselves, not to us. It's like when they removed the touch bar. Remember when they added the touch bar? They raised the price of the computer quite a lot with the justification that they were adding like this really cool hot new piece of technology. And I think it increased the price of the computer like $300 or something crazy. It was a big jump. And then, of course, when they removed it, did they give back that $300? No. TC just put that in his pocket, and he moved on gleefully about his day. But one can dream. Okay, I think we got one quick story left. But do you guys want to hear my genius idea? My terrible idea? I leave it to you to decide. So we've been talking a lot about Airbnbs on this show. Well, before we go live. We don't talk about it during the show because this is an Apple show. You're not here to talk about Airbnb. But I'll keep this quick. So right now, interest rates are very high in the U.S., which means that it's a hard time to buy because everything's really expensive. But it also means there's a lot less competition for housing if you have cash or you have a lot of cash, maybe not 100% to pay for the house because you have no competition anymore because people can't take out loans. So actually, if you have money, it's like the best time to buy because all the prices are coming down. In fact, I watched my house price on Zillow go down like 5% a month. So, you can there are deals to be had. So I was thinking, what if, and this is a big what and a big if. And I'd be curious to hear your feedback. If you like or hate this idea, ping me on Twitter and let me know what you think. We start something called Cult Fund, where we have people within the CultCast community who have money to invest, put our money together, and we buy a place that we can rent out on Airbnb now. Now, this is something I've been researching for probably 2 years. I know how to do the market research. I know how to find places that are profitable, but you have to have money to do it. Now, the thing is the lower price places are the places that get the most competition because that's what most people can afford. The places that make the most money are the expensive places, like the $1 million houses. But of course, they're hard to buy because you have to have $1 million or you have to have a big down payment. This is where Cult Fund comes in. We group our money together. We write up a contract, right? We make it all legit. And we specify ownership, profit, how it all gets split up. We pool our money together. We buy a place together. Boom. We retire off the profits. Lewis, it can't fail.
And once a year, we have a big party.
Well, hold on now. I'm not making any promises, Lewis. It depends. You going to give me that $50,000 or not? So someone was saying how much money we talking. I don't know. But I was thinking like, you'd have to have like $50,000 or something to participate. Like it has to be a substantial chunk because we're talking about buying like a $800,000, $900,000, property. I, of course, put some money into it. Best I can do is $350, says I. But even better idea, Cult Share. We buy a property, you get to lease it out for 2 weeks a year, right? You bring in your friends and family. They invest. I don't know. I told my wife about this idea. She's like, this is a bad idea. I told it to Lewis. He laughed at me. He's like, this is a terrible idea. I actually think it's a great idea. So the term that I was talking about earlier, Lewis, that suddenly came to me, I think it's called syndication. So, and I'm not a realtor or a real estate expert by any means, but I think that is the term that describes like what I'm talking about is like pooling money together from investors and then buying a place with it. And the thing is like now if you got enough money, you don't have to take out a mortgage, which means all that interest, all that money that was going to pay off, service your debt, now is just profit. You can just take it, which takes all the risk out of the investment.
Oh yeah, risk free.
Well,
Risk free.
if you don't have debt, it is risk free. The thing that makes it risky is the debt, because if you can't pay your debt, you get foreclosed on. Now, if you have no debt, worst case scenario is like you don't make as much as you thought. You wait a couple years, you sell the place, so it is risk free technically. Think about it. Cult fund. Put that in your brain. Talk to your wife about it. Send me $100,000. I think I'm at
Wow.
Airfund on the Cash App.
This is a new wrinkle.
I think this is one example where
sorry.
this is one example where putting the name cult. I know it's our brand, but like putting that in the name is working against us.
Cult share. I don't know. It's a little
that
weird.
May not be a bad idea. We gotta change it to something else. The Gov Fund. How about that?
Oh my God!
You're right.
I
Giving money
wonder
to a cult may not be a good idea.
I
didn't think about
I wonder
that.
if have we run afoul of any SEC guidelines with this?
I don't know. That is possible. Well, I'm not collecting anything. It's just an idea.
I'm starting to get nervous.
It's only illegal if you collect the money, Lewis.
Jeez.
All right. Last story of the day. Speaking about losing vast sums of money, I just thought that you all might find this story interesting. My apologies for forcing you to look at something from, I don't even like to say it, Lewis. 9 to 5 Mac. Oh, even just saying that gives me gastrointestinal distress. No, I'm just joking. The fine folks over at 9 to 5 Mac had a funny article, and it's funny because it's true. Apple Card contributes to another $667 million loss for Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs, quote, "We did not execute well." Don't say. This was mind-blowing to me that they're taking that big of a bath on this. So I'm reading from the article now. Back in January, we learned that Apple Card has been responsible for more than $1 billion in losses for Goldman Sachs in recent years. Now, amid rumors that Apple is looking to leave Goldman for Amex, the former Goldman has reported its Q2 earnings, and the results aren't pretty. The amount of losses Goldman Sachs has seen with its Apple partnership isn't quite clear, but since 2020, it's somewhere in the ballpark of $1 to $3 billion. Well, now we know where they're getting all the money for that 5% interest rate. It's coming from Goldman Sachs. Let's see here. As for why Goldman is seeing such a tough time with its nascent consumer banking offerings, the company says the primary cause is loan loss provisions, which are when a bank has to compensate for greater than expected unpaid credit card balances and loans. Wow. Wasn't one of the primary selling points was, hey, Apple's the good guy, right? We're going to just be giving away these credit cards. We're going to make it. It's like, if you want to pay it, great. If not, well, we'll just wait. Like, it kind of seems like that's the way they marketed this card. And people are taking out loans and just not paying them back. Well, now we know why towards the end we were all having such a hard time getting the card. And by we, I mean you, Lewis. Didn't you get declined a couple times?
Yeah, like I said, though, that was, they had some specific thing that I had run afoul of, which was a savings account had been closed by a bank, because there's a good reason.
That's what I mean.
but yeah, I don't know. I question all this reporting though, because they keep talking about Apple Card is responsible for over $1 billion, but it's like, well, the division of Goldman Sachs it had lost that much money. It wasn't necessarily just the Apple. It doesn't look to me like it was broken out.
Yeah,
Am I wrong
don't think
about
that
that?
Apple lost anything. I think
no, I mean, but they're saying that division of Goldman Sachs lost that amount of money. And Apple wasn't the only card in that division.
I see what you're
Goldman
saying.
Sachs trying to get into consumer lending, consumer credit cards.
Okay, so maybe it's part
it's
of
not
the pie.
strictly Apple Card,
Okay,
right? But
all right,
but
yeah.
My reaction to that story, I've designed a pitch deck in my day. I used to work for a startup. I used to work in marketing. I would love to see the pitch deck to American Express that says, hey, take over this business for us. We only lost $667 million in a single year.
Well, I think their angle would be Goldman Sachs didn't know what they were doing. They have a nascent consumer financing division. They clearly mucked this up, but we got a big opportunity for you. Now you can be responsible for a 5% interest rate on all the savings and to handle all the consumer transactions. Just think how many they'd be. Millions upon millions. I think that the financial stuff that Apple's doing is going to be probably one of the most substantial legs of the company. I mean, who makes more than companies that are involved in finance, right? Like their business is money, and they're like the casino in Vegas. Like they make a cut off every transaction that happens. You can't lose. The house never loses, right? And if they get everyone with iPhones using Apple Card and they're making a cut on every single purchase that you make across the entire planet, that could be bigger than any business that they have. They don't have to make anything. All they have to do is put the platform in place, and now they profit off it because it's their platform. Sounds like a TC move to me if ever I did hear one. Anyway.
I mean, how do you make money if you don't charge people interest and you don't charge people late fees? That's how credit cards make money, right?
Well, they make money off of every transaction. So every time you make a
purchase, they make $1 or a sliver. Yeah, okay.
It's like a very small percentage. I mean, the gravy is if you don't pay your credit card fee or your credit card bill. That's when they really slather on the gravy, right?
So this Apple Card is like gravy free.
Right now it's gravy free, and that's not how TC likes it. I don't know. Have you ever been to one of TC's Thanksgiving parties? You know, he likes extra gravy. And with that, I think we need to go ahead and wrap it there. That's all the CultCast we have for you guys this week. But you know what? The party never stops. If you're ready to invest in cult funds, I'm at Airfon on Twitter, at ERFWin. Lewis is at Lewis Walls. You could also tweet Griffin if you find out his secret Twitter handle, which I shan't reveal here, but he's there. I saw a tweet from him recently. He's on there. Care to reveal it, Griffin?
I mean, it's D. Griffin Jones. I didn't tweet anything recently, but I saw people saying some kind words about the artwork, so I favorited it. I still check my Twitter.
That's what I saw. You also sent me a DM.
Maybe.
I thought you did.
You can find me on Mastodon.
Was he asking for your
Jones,
credit card
or
number?
on Threads, D. Griffin Jones.
Yeah. Did he tweet you too?
Yeah, I declined it.
I sent it to him, then he never got back to me. All right. Well, you completely made me lose my place. So I think I'll just start here, and I'll just say, hey, look. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out live. New episodes of the CultCast come out every Thursday night. We will see you guys. Oh, this stretch is way too far. What did I do? Next time. There we go. I sprained my shoulder doing that, but I got it done. You know what, Lewis? You laugh at Cult Fund, but when it succeeds and I'm making millions, and you're my butler, you're going to shake your fist at the sky. But don't worry, because I'm going to make the butler's quarters primo for you.
That's great to hear.
We'll get you one of those extra pillow cushions for the stretch limo.
Will there be a window?
Well, it depends how you perform. We'll talk about that in your performance review. All right, everyone. We're officially off the rails. Have a great weekend. Bye, y'all.